Hello and welcome to Skeptics and Seekers Spooky Halloween Edition. And I'm your host, the Skeptic, David.
And I'm Dale, the Christian or Seeker.
Talk about scary. Anyway, this is Dale's week. I wanted to go ahead and introduce the show though, because I just wanted to make a quick comment. So Dale and I have done this show before. This is the second time this week we've done it, and we're doing this show on Saturday. We usually do it on Tuesday, so really we're doing it just before I post it. And the reason for that is because I did not do a very good job, and I don't appreciate the way I conducted that show. And so, although nothing publicly will ever get out, you will never hear that show. I'm just going to apologize to you anyway, because I behaved poorly, and I created a bad episode that I refused to air. And I asked Dale if he would be kind enough to give me a second chance to do this show again. And so if we sound like we're unprepared and we don't know what we're talking about, trust me, we were prepared the first time. It was several days ago. Neither one of us have really looked at the material since then. We barely remember what we're talking about. But trust me, no matter how bad this podcast turns out to be, it's a lot better than what it's replacing. So,
hopefully
it's not. It can't get worse. It can't get worse.
Yeah.
I listened to it. So the other thing that I wanted to say up front is this show has a natural part 2. And so I'm going to go ahead and announce up front that we are not going to address some of the things that you will naturally be saying, oh, but you should be talking about this. Well, what about that? We haven't forgotten. We didn't miss it. It's going to be in next week's discussion. So I can tell you up front, next week, it'll be my topic, and it'll really just be a part 2 of this topic. We will be talking about spiritual warfare. Stay tuned. So even though this week's topic is a very lighthearted-ish topic on Halloween, it does lead into something, or should I say bleed into something more seriously, which will be next week. And if also, this is a strange thing for Dale and I. We've both had a chance to listen to this week's Unbelievable, which, by the way, was on the same topic that we plan to talk about. So we might make some references to that podcast as well. So without any further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Dale, and he is going to tell us about Halloween.
Okay. So yeah, my topic, I wanted to do a holiday-themed episode because we're approaching Halloween. And from what I remember in my blog, basically my main thesis is, there's a bit of a dilemma within Christianity. Some Christians have no problem, letting their kids take part in Halloween, like trick-or-treating or going to Halloween parties, dressing up. But other Christians see that as a big no-no because it's based on the All Hallows Eve and the pagan, it has pagan associations. So basically I take the former side. I don't think taking part, taking your kids trick-or-treating, I myself went trick-or-treating, or dressing up in a costume. And
he turned out just fine, right? Anyway, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well, David went trick-or-treating, and I'm assuming everyone thinks he turned out fine. So, okay, we'll take that back. We got Count David here. So yeah, I don't think it's a big deal at all. And it boils down to the intent, because obviously there are certain occultic practices which the Bible forbids for Christians, and these can be loosely associated with Halloween. People, do things like Ouija boards or, taking part in witchcraft rituals or spiritism, trying to communicate with the dead, which the Ouija board is a part of. and I think the Bible would prohibit Christians from taking part in these specific activities that people do at Halloween. Um, but as to trick or treating or dressing up as a witch or a skeleton, I don't think God cares about that. I think it's more about the intent that people have, and they're not idealizing these enemies of God, so to speak, or they're not actually trying to communicate with dead people when they put on a dress up as a ghost, put on a white sheet to look like a ghost or something like that. So yeah, it's fairly straightforward. Yeah, I'm kind of liberal on this. I don't think the Bible would prohibit trick or treating or dressing up in costumes and having fun on Halloween. And I'll turn it over to David.
Okay. So let me just ask you a series of provocative questions, Dale. If they're too provocative, just let me know and I'll answer them myself. But I'm not going to not ask them. So
Okay,
that said, are you familiar with the Ku Klux Klan?
I am.
Okay. Uh, when you see images of a Klansman in white sheet, what do you think? I'm sure you've seen those images before, either on television or in books. How do you feel? What's your visceral reaction?
Um, like, is it about the white sheets, or you mean because of who they are, or whatever?
Sure.
Like,
I mean, just yeah, your visceral, your human reaction. Try to get in touch with your human side. This is not a trick question.
yeah. Oh well, it will turn. Yeah, I don't have a strong visceral reaction anymore. Like this is where Tara's criticism of me is somewhat accurate. Like
I
when
am
I
trying
I
to help you out
understand.
so much.
No, I know, no, but I have
Yeah.
to be, unfortunately, I have to be honest. Like, yeah, that is a deficiency that I have. When I was growing up in high school, like
Do
when
you
learning
think
about
they're wrong?
Hitler,
Do you think they're
yes,
bad?
absolutely, yes,
Okay, all right.
absolutely,
So that's look. The only reason I'm cutting you off is because I am
trying to
trying to
help me.
spare you from the
Thank you.
mail. All right.
Yeah,
Uh,
no, no, but I would agree if you want, that is a deficiency on my part that needs to be improved, and I do need to improve there. But
okay.
absolutely, I
But
understand
so
KKK
you
are
see it as
wrong.
a bad thing,
Yeah,
and what they stood for was bad. And if there are people today, for instance, who still have their old Klan outfits in their closets and they kind of put them on every now and then and cosplay and lovingly caress them, you would think that they were bad too. I take it. Is that correct?
yes,
Please say
yeah,
yes. Okay.
yeah.
All right.
All
So,
right, yay.
yeah, so we're getting you there slowly. All right, so here's the trick part of the question, Dale.
Okay.
So, do you think it's okay for kids to dress up as Klansmen?
No,
Why
I
not?
do not. Same deal with dressing up as Hitler. I think it's because of the contextual indicators.
But we're a long ways from slavery. We're a long ways from crosses burning, in every other black neighborhood. So, surely
Okay,
there's
but that
there's there's more to it than that. Let's say 2,000 years from now, when nobody remembers the Klan, and then someone finds it in a book and they dress up as dress their kids up as Klansmen, would it be okay then? Simply because society has forgotten?
I would say yes, if the KKK is somehow transformed into meaning something else,
Well,
like
let's say that
like
it wasn't
cast.
transformed. It
Okay,
it
then no,
they just dug it up from history. Oh, here's a thing that used to happen in history. I think I'll dress up as the Klanman.
and they know what they represent and
Yes,
everything.
absolutely, because they studied their history.
Okay, so then no, I wouldn't
Okay,
allow my kid to dress up like that.
so then we're talking about something a little bit bigger than just whatever societal context is at the time. That's all I'm getting at. Now, the reason I ask you that question, I know for the audience is thinking you could have gotten there so much faster. Come on, Dale. So I'm trying to help you out. I'm not trying to make you look bad. I promise. I'll
Yeah,
let you
no,
know when
I
I'm
know.
trying to make you look bad.
Okay.
So, in terms of Halloween, how do you think before we get to Halloween, how do you think God views Satan? Do you think he views Satan with loving kindness, or do you think he views Satan as an enemy?
I think this might sound controversial, but I think that God loves all of his creatures, including Satan and demons, but he views him as an enemy of God. He's irredeemable.
Okay.
So
So,
yeah,
so
it's
I'm,
not like
I'm I'm trying to land you on the place that's going to make you look the best here. So you think you see
am I
him
messing that up?
a little bit.
Okay.
Thank you. So I'm trying to help you, man. So God sees Satan as an irredeemable enemy. If I can take some of your words and put them together in that way, is that correct?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So how do you think God feels, to the extent that God has feelings and to the extent that you could understand them, when he sees his beloved little children dressing up and pretending to be his irredeemable enemy?
I think God can actually handle that because he gets what people are doing. They're not actually worshiping the real Satan kind of thing. It's become sort of a cartoonish joke, you know, the guy with the pitchfork and the horns out of the head. I think that God has a sense of humor. He gets what people are meaning in the context of what they're doing on Halloween. I don't. They're not giving their endorsement to Satan and making a statement by rejecting God or anything like that. That's where it becomes a problem, and that's not what I'm doing. My brother dressed up as the devil. He wasn't making a statement. It was just whatever. And I think that God is more lenient than, you know, he's not offended. He gets what we're doing.
Okay, so look, I'm not going to try to change your mind. I just want the audience to understand the connection that I'm making and understand why we can never see eye to eye on this. I believe that God views the devil in an even more harsh way than I view a Klansman.
Hmm.
And you could say that if you dressed if you let your kid go as a Klansman, just because we like to play villains as well, right? I mean, heroes and villains. We get to play both sides. Video games, you get to play both sides. Cowboys and Indians, we assume that one of those is a villain. And we get to play both sides. So a Klansman is just a villain in history, and yet you see the problem in uh, in dressing up as that particular villain, but you don't see the problem of dressing up as God's villain. And I would say that it is the same thing, and you obviously say it's different. So dressing up as the devil would be one of those things where I'd say no, that's not allowed. And I would say the same thing for witches. How does God view witches? We know how God views witches. His order was to kill them. In fact, you might even say it was to kill them in sight, because his order was to suffer not a witch to live. I mean, just don't. You witch, you die. And so I don't think that God has changed on that. Now, we as society have changed on that. We don't care. We like witches. I mean, since the show Bewitched and probably before that, we have portrayed witches as favorable. Harry Potter, we portray witches as favorable. God's sitting there thinking, wait a minute, I thought I said that witches were not good. And now we've got people growing up thinking that witches are okay. And so for you, it's just another villain. Have fun with it. And I think it's different for God, at least the God that I once understood and believed. So yeah, I don't see how you think that you know taking on these kind of occult personas for Halloween is an innocent thing for Christians, but you do understand that taking on a clan persona is not okay.
No, but I even with the clan persona, 2,000 years from now, I asked you what's the societal context of, like, maybe there's a holographic TV show or something that comes on and it, you know, people are dressing up. The KKK is portrayed positively or something. It's not representative of what they actually were. So people dress up on Halloween as these guys. Then that I wouldn't have a
But that's
problem
not
with.
that's not the situation that I think we're in here. I mean, the devil is still the devil, right? I mean, the only reason people dress up as the devil is because they don't take him seriously.
Yeah, but
He's a joke to most atheists, and I would argue to most Christians too.
yeah, he's a
It's
card.
just a yeah, it is a card, but it's unreal. If Christians actually thought it was real, they would take it more seriously, but they don't. No
Well,
one, they
I
don't.
take because I've watched like out of interest, I have watched documentaries and stuff on the development of Satan or whatever. So like, yeah, we have a post Enlightenment view where we romanticized Satan, trying to portray him as a good guy. This is where a lot of uh, and then 1930s thereabouts, we started developing this cartoonish vision, right? The pitchfork and the two horns poking out of the head, and that's where he's all red. So yeah, I don't think there's anything wrong with a kid dressing up as this guy. Um,
Except Satan
Perhaps
is
as a Christian,
supposedly still a going concern for God. He's
yeah.
still a going concern supposedly for Christians.
So here's what I would agree with you then. As a Christian parent, I would probably make it clear to the kid as best you can that, hey, we're not. Satan is a real. There is a real Satan. He is an evil being. He is the enemy of God. We're not to, equate the two. You're not to idealize Satan or think, oh, Satan's a good guy because I'm dressing up with it, like whatever way you would explain to the kid based on his age. So yeah, okay, maybe Christians have a duty to explain that.
Okay, but you're still trivializing it when you say. I mean, Satan is being trivialized in a way that I think, once again, with Christian hat firmly on, completely unbiblical. Satan was not a trivial character, and his powers were not trivial concerns. And to turn him into a cartoon mask is to trivialize him and to say, "Oh, Satan is no big deal." That it seems to be very much unchristian. Satan is no big deal. The dark world is no big deal. Witchcraft is no big deal. That seems to be the Christian message when they hand wave away Halloween. The Christian on this week's program, who was in favor of all this stuff, he seemed to, toward the end of the program, he seemed to be saying that he just doesn't even believe in all that stuff. And
Okay.
I think that's where you end up at. I think it is all fun and games when you don't really believe in it.
Okay. Well, but no, because I really believe believe in demons and that sort of thing, and Satan. I believe he is real. But yeah, I think that it's possible to allay your concern, which is potentially valid. Yeah, we do run the risk of trivializing or romanticizing these enemies of God, as you like to call them. So yeah, it's the responsibility of a Christian parent to make sure that the child understands that. If the kid can't understand it, then maybe then you don't dress up your kid as these things. Dress him up as a Power Ranger or a hero or an angel or something.
Well, maybe
Um,
careful about the Power Rangers. Where do they get their power from, in fact? Maybe we need to start asking that. Because that's not just an alien influence.
Magic.
There's some magic, and let's just say it: all magic is dark magic if it doesn't come from God. Power Rangers is not a religious story, so
is
maybe
is
dress them up as
is it
something else.
actually magic in the show, or is it
Honestly, I went
some
to the
science? Or,
movie a couple of years ago when the Power Rangers movie came out, live action Power
you actually
Rangers.
watched that
I
the new
went
thing?
to it. I went there,
You don't have any.
almost paid money for it.
Okay.
Except my wife worked at the theater, and so we could watch movies for free. But
Okay.
I'm pretty sure I
Okay.
paid good money for popcorn.
Yeah.
So,
Interesting. Wow. Okay.
yeah, no. In fact,
And
if I
it's
told you
magic.
all the movies that I've gone to over the last couple of years, you would be shocked and appalled. So I will confess to the Power Rangers.
Okay. I can't judge you. Yeah. I'm not going to judge. Everyone likes what they like. That's good. I watched
I
Power
didn't say I
Rangers
liked
growing
it.
up. Oh, okay. Even better. Okay, so with the magic thing though, I agree that there is no such thing as good or bad magic or light or dark magic. Magic is bad from God's perspective as an entity, right? Because it's trying to basically what you're trying to do with all these things, communicating with the dead or engaging in magic or curses. This was very
May
popular in
the
the ancient
force be
world.
with
So,
you.
sorry.
May the force be with you.
Okay, so you can't dress up as Star Wars
I'm
people. There,
just,
there are
I'm just,
religious.
I'm just saying. No, no dark, no light. It's all magic. You tell me what the force is. If it's not some ancient magical power that you use to bend the world, you use to bend people's wills. You use, I mean, you do a lot of things with that force. So I'm just saying, if we're
That's
if we're going to
correct.
start going down the road of saying magic is evil, which I think that actually Christians have to,
Yep.
you can't be Star Wars fans either.
Okay, so I disagree with that last part, but I agree with you that the Force, if you're believing in the Force, like you're believing in actual magic, you're replacing your trust in God and trying to take control using these other forces. That's why I think the Bible prohibits these practices, right? Like you're trying to communicate with the dead to take control of something, or
I
you're
would just
trying
say,
to
just
use
think about all of these characters, these mainstream characters, that if they were real, they would be enemies of God. And those are the people that Christians are holding up as heroes for their kids. So just think about all of the people that you would have to be opposed to if they were real. So everyone in Star Trek, that's real. The Jedi, that's like a cult. You
from
could
Star
not,
Trek.
and you couldn't. What's that?
Star Trek? Why?
No, no, no.
What's
Star Wars.
magical?
Star Wars. I'm
Oh,
sorry.
Star.
Yeah, Star
No,
Wars.
no, but
You'd have to be, but you'd have to be opposed to the Jedi. You'd have to be opposed to Harry Potter. You'd have to be opposed to Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
mhm,
You'd have to be opposed to
okay.
the Power Rangers. I'm pretty sure. You'd have to be opposed to all of these things that we consider culturally really innocent that Christians have bought into. If you took those ideas seriously, and if they in some other world were real, you would actually have to be opposed to as enemies of God. And I just
Correct.
think that it is very interesting that some of the greatest pastimes of Christian kids today are things that in a different world would be enemies of God if they were real.
If they were real, that's the key, though.
But
That's
but still,
why
that's
it's
what
not a
you're teaching them
problem.
to love. You're teaching them to
So that's
love that.
why, but that's why I modified and said you have a point, though. You have to make sure you can make that distinction clear to them. And if your kids can't understand that, I don't know, maybe they're like 2 years old or something. So okay, then I wouldn't dress my 2 year old up as Satan or something. I would dress them up as an angel or something like that. But once you can explain to them, this is just a cartoon, a fictionary thing. The real thing is against God, and I think kids can understand
I don't.
understand that
I
at a
actually
certain
think that
point,
would be
right?
very confusing. I don't think there's a kid alive, Harry Potter age, who hasn't in the dark of their room waved a candy cane and said "expecto patronum," wishing that something would happen. The very act of that is to practice witchcraft. Now, it's to practice it badly, but it is witchcraft.
Yeah, if yeah, I don't know. I don't like I'm trying to when I was growing up, like I could distinguish between the Satan, the biblical Satan, and the Satan I saw in Bugs Bunny cartoons. Like I understood this is just a cartoon
Well, the
kind of
Satan you
thing, right?
saw
Like
in
I
Bugs
didn't see
Bunny
any.
cartoon was still evil. I mean, he's still the bad guy.
Yeah, but people idolize sort of, oh, he's the rebellious bad guy or something like that, right? Like I don't know. People don't. I could tell there was a difference as a kid,
Okay.
kind of thing. So if someone dressed up like him, the red guy with the horns, I recognized that wasn't really Satan.
Okay. So, so I look. I have no reason to argue this outside of entertainment value because I think it's all nuts. My only purpose in arguing this today is to suggest that Christians, especially the more moderate to liberal Christians, have traveled a long way from what used to be, I think, a more classical Christianity. Because there was a time, I think, when Christians didn't think this way, and they were not so casual about the dark arts. And today's Christians, it almost seems hypocritical. I just don't see why I should listen to them, when they talk about evil, because their understanding of evil is not one that they take seriously, and I don't see why I should either.
Okay. Well, I think I'll just say this to end off then. But yeah, Christians do take evil seriously, but there is a danger, when we take part in these things, that it could become trivialized. So, a Christian should perhaps be on guard that, you know, make sure you're not getting to the point where you're trivializing actual magic or actual evil. This is a serious thing. We do need to reclaim an ancient understanding of the seriousness of the adversary, of Satan, and how evil it is to do something wrong and stuff like that, or to interact with ghosts and that sort of thing. So yeah, I think as long as you have your guard up and you understand what you're doing, it's just a bunch of harmless fun. But always be cognizant that there is a reality behind these things.
Okay, so we still got a little bit more time. So I do want to ask a question that's going to lead into next week's conversation. So we don't need to deal with this in too much depth, but think of this as an introduction for what's to come. So in your blog, you talked about gateway um, gateway concerns, things
Yeah.
that could open the door to the dark side, if you will. You didn't use that language exactly, but I think anyone who read your blog would know what I'm talking about. And so I want to, I don't know if you still feel the same way today as you did a week ago when you wrote your blog, or 4 days ago when we talked about it. But I do want to ask, so that I can get a baseline for what we're going to be dealing with. Do you believe in in demonic creatures? So let me
Yes.
just start that. Are demonic creatures as real as you and me?
Yes.
Okay.
Well,
Well, I don't.
yes,
Never
yes.
mind the physicality part. This is not a trick question, and you know.
Yeah.
So
So yes, yes.
yes. So do demons inhabit this world? Now, I know that
Yes.
this is where some technicality can come in, because now, what do I mean by this world? Do I mean some, extra dimensional substrate of this world, or well, what I mostly mean is the world where you and I are right now, where there are trees and bushes and WalMarts and car accidents, and are demons here?
Yes. I do think so. Yes.
Okay. What form are they in? Once again, I'm not trying to get too technical, but some would say that guardian angels take on human forms. There's that passage in the Bible that says, you think you're only dealing with a human, but you might be dealing with an angel in disguise. So it suggests that angels could be as solid as you and me. So do you think that demons inhabit this realm in the same way?
Uh, yeah. Yeah. I suppose they could.
For instance, could I be a demon? As far as you know.
Um, I don't think that demons do manifest in that way. They usually, if they do, the most direct manifestation on an earth level is they could possess you, that I'm
Okay, you
aware of.
you are aware that Hugh Ross thinks that demons can manifest this way.
I was not aware of that. It seems to be that that's wrong. So that's not what I believe. I wouldn't make any claims. I'll look into what he has to say. Unless you're meaning like UFO.
Yes, a UFO
Okay.
and I don't mean just a trick of light. I mean the kind of thing that crashes to Earth and leaves holes.
Okay. So yeah, I do think in that case that demons uh, could and probably do manifest in those type ways. Like
So,
they're
as far
like
as you
for
know,
example,
I could be a demon.
well, I wouldn't say that because I don't think it like when I'm talking about manifesting in that sense, like there are certain apparitions which are observed by groups, um, and they seem to be veridical. So I believe that okay, well, what they're seeing is some kind of demon or
Okay, wait a
something in
minute. Why
that
do you
case.
think that angels could manifest in a form like me? Could I, as far as you know, could I be an angel?
Uh, I don't think so, but
Then what did the Bible
an
mean
angel
by
could
you could
manifest.
be entertaining in angel underwears? How is that possible if they didn't look and sound and feel like humans?
Right. So that's why I do believe. That's why I said I believe it because you gave the Bible verse. I'm not sure that that happens today or not, um, because I'm sort of iffy on whether I think it's um, almost equally probable to equally probable that some kind of cessationism happened after the New Testament was completed. Something fundamentally changed in terms of how the spirit world interacts with the physical world. So
Okay,
yeah,
so
that there
I don't
could
want to
there
get
could be a
I don't
difference.
want to take you too far in there because I know you're not prepared to talk about that. I am just trying to get a real sense of what you do believe and what you don't believe and kind of where this is going to go because when we talk about spiritual warfare, so you did say that demons could and do exist in this world on this plane, but not like us. Tell me more
Yeah.
about how you think demons exist and interact on this plane then.
Okay. Well, in terms of what Hugh Ross is probably trying to get at, because I've heard stories from Gary Habermas, Mike Lacona, Craig Keener as well, um, and yeah, there are various apparitions that people see. Not all of them can be explained away satisfactorily on a natural level. So I might go, okay, well that's that could be explained by a demon manifesting some way in the world. There are also, it depends how you interpret the evidence, right? Like one thing I was going to, Dr. Ian Stevenson has done a lot of research, and he provides certain evidential cases for proof for what he thinks is reincarnation. So he's interpreting this evidence differently. But I think some of his evidence makes more sense by saying that's demon. I think it's demons. I
So,
think that's a more, yeah.
so let me go back and just kind of peel back this layer a little bit. You've used the word apparitions a couple of times. What do you mean by apparitions? Do you mean ghosts? Do you mean lights? Do you mean UFOs? What are you talking about?
All of the above. There's different
Okay, so
ones.
you
I
understand that all of that's some version of physicality. Now, we may be just talking about something visual within the electromagnetic spectrum,
mhm.
but that's still physical.
Yes,
So,
that's
if in fact a demon can take physical form in this world, why not human form? What is, I mean, honestly, what's the big difference between appearing as a piece of light and appearing as a humanoid?
there's not. It's
But
just
you're
I'm
convinced that they couldn't appear as a humanoid, but they can appear as light and sound and everything else.
well, I didn't say I'm convinced, right? People can hear there's a lot of trepidation in my voice. I'm not
Okay,
wanting
but
to say
let me
something
just say
wrong,
that
but
you're
I
making room
think
for the idea that they can appear that way, but you don't make room for the idea that they could appear as human shaped. And I'm trying to figure out what the barrier is, the difference that you are seeing. If a thing can show up as light, I'm not entirely sure why it couldn't show up as a brick.
why is that's a brick. Well, I suppose with the angel thing, it's because there's a Bible verse that's telling us angels do manifest in this way. Um, Whereas all the cases that slightly push me over the edge as to something paranormal is going on here possibly, um, and can't be are not consistent with the Christian worldview. Therefore, it would have to be demons. It can't be angels or messengers of God leading to these types of phenomenon. They seem to manifest in these odd ways, not as a fully fledged flesh and blood demon or human form.
Okay, but
Um,
how does that work with your cessationism? Because you said that you are, leaning toward being a cessationist. For those who are not familiar with that, that means that uh, miracles and supernatural things ceased or stopped happening at a certain time, and different cessationists might put the time of that cessation and the scope of that cessation in different places and at different levels. So you said, for you, you're a complete canon cessationist.
well, that's what I would be if I didn't say I have firm conclusions.
Well,
So
but
like
but this is
with
where
things
but this
like
is where you're leaning, though. I'm not trying to trap you into a position that you don't hold. I am simply trying to understand how these two positions work. You're on
when I
the one
say
hand, you're leaning towards cessationism. On the other hand, you believe that demons are still manifesting in some form in this realm.
okay,
Which is it?
so let me explain. So when I said leaning, I should meant I'm partial. When I grew up as a Christian before, this is the view I prefer. This is what makes sense to me. But as a non-believer, I started doing a little bit of research into this type of thing. So I'm slightly more probable than not that cessationism is false. However, it's very weak for me because a lot of my reasons are based on trust, and I've seen that backfire in certain times. Craig Keener reports certain experiences that are, according to him, medically impossible, and that he himself witnessed or a trusted friend witnessed. Michael Kona has told me certain stories from trusted people that just can't be, it's unlikely they could be explained naturalistically if true. So I'm kind of the reason I'm leaning actually towards that end, towards saying, well, more probable than not, very weakly, maybe cessationism is false, and there is some truth to what's going on with these things. Miracle healings still happen, and demonic activity still happens. If I were left to my own without that trusting of their accounts and knowing them, then I would be like, nope, I'm a cessationist. I've never witnessed any of it. I've never been miraculously healed. I've never witnessed demons. It all sound like that. I was more like a skeptic as a Christian growing up, like ghosts. It's all nonsense. I didn't even take seriously those types of claims. So I'm partial towards cessationism, but I'm leaning towards the fact that cessationism is false based on certain evidences which I think are unlikely to be explained naturally, and I trust the source that it's true. Does that make sense?
Well, a little bit, but it sounds to me like this is a very strange place for you not to be trusting the Bible. I mean, in none of that did you say, I've studied the Bible carefully on this matter, and no
So,
matter what anyone says, this is what the Bible seems to be teaching. You didn't go that route.
because I haven't studied the Bible too much on this topic. Um, but yeah, I would go if something. Yeah, I would go with what the Bible says. Definitely.
Well, I just find it interesting that you haven't. You're trying to form an opinion without having consulted the Bible, and you believe the Bible on just about everything that the Bible says. But on this matter, you're just trusting stories of the paranormal from various sources. And I would think that if the Bible says these things don't happen, then you do have another option with regard to these stories. Your option is they're wrong.
Yeah,
And
that's what I
but
would
that's
do.
but so I as someone who did come at this from a biblical perspective,
Mhm.
my particular denomination was cessationist. But as I grew out of that denomination, I became less a cessationist because I do not, in fact, believe that the Bible supports a cessationist position.
Okay.
And so I think that, the Bible talks about gives various warnings about, demons and evil and so forth, uh, long after the well, I shouldn't say long, but after the death, burial, and resurrection of Jesus. And so there was still this idea that Satan and his demons were very real figures and going concerns in this world, and I never saw anything in Scripture to lead me to believe that that changed during the biblical era, and nothing that said, oh, but at this point in history, then it will change. And I
Yeah.
think without that clarity, it's a little vague to say, well, when we have the complete canon, then we don't, the doors to the spirit world close. That sounds a little like head canon and not biblical canon.
Yeah, no, I would definitely agree that it's headcanon, and it's so I sort of lied before then, I guess, because it isn't just the secular evidences that is convincing me as well. Like Craig Keener, in his book on miracles, goes extensively into refuting the cessationist perspective from a biblical standpoint. It's also in his commentary on Acts as well. So, yeah, I do think that there are my confidence in cessationism, even on a biblical level, has been compromised as well. Like I'm not so sure that the Bible does teach cessationism. In fact, I would probably again lean that, I'd probably say I'm about 75% sure, 70 to 75% sure that the Bible actually teaches that doesn't teach cessationism.
Yeah,
So in
I,
that
well,
case, yeah,
I
that
would
would
be I would be in that range, if not higher.
okay. So
And I think that one of the reasons you're struggling with this, and I mean, I know that this will come out sounding a little bit inflammatory, but we've agreed to too much over the last 10 minutes, so I need to say something inflammatory. I think that I think the reason this is a tough one for you is because you know that the cessationist position allows you to feel more sane, and you don't have to support a lot of things that sound really kooky.
mhm.
But to agree that cessationism isn't right means that you've got to embrace a lot of crazy stuff. The guy who was the not exorcist. What was he? He was the deliverance minister on
Mm.
Unbelievable. You have to embrace his worldview a little bit
Yeah,
because the world that he envisions becomes a lot more real if cessationism is not true. And I don't think you want to do that as a rational person.
yeah, definitely you're right. Like my sort of reluctance, the reason for my partiality is like I have this sort of skeptical leaning when I was growing up as a Christian. Oh, I remember friends in high talking about ghosts and all. Oh my gosh, you guys are like get out of it. It's just I wouldn't even consider that because I just had this bias that that's not the way the world works. I've never encountered that stuff. It's all just malarkey. Um, but yeah, you're right. You can't. That's me letting my bias develop headcanon and then impose that onto the scripture, and that's where I've been sort of actually I can't do that. If I scold skeptics for doing that in other areas, I can't do that either. So I've been gradually becoming more open. But yeah, I haven't wanted to do a full scale. Okay, let me get down to the bottom and come up with a firm conclusion because I don't know. I just, yeah, I don't care about this stuff. Like Gary loves it. Like, oh, he loves to bring up, oh, we've got a new double-blind prayer experiment or something. I'm just okay, yeah. Like I'll listen to it, but I don't know. Like it's just not my thing. But maybe it should be. Maybe I should take this as an opportunity to try and come to more firm conclusions then.
Yeah, well, once again, it's a matter of to the degree that you want the non-believer to take any of this seriously, the Christian has to take it seriously. And I think that, the appearance of Christians taking any of this stuff seriously has taken a big hit over the years. So, whether you actually do take it seriously or not, it doesn't look like you do. And so we don't. And we see no reason to.
Do you mean like the existence of these beings themselves, or the fact that they're doing things today?
I think all of it. Most recently, I'm talking about them actually doing things in the world and being some kind of going concern for us in the realm that we are in. So look, it's just so that we don't lose the thread. There are a couple of other things I want to get at, because you mentioned things like Ouija boards in your post.
Mm-hmm.
So you spoke as if something like a Ouija board could somehow be a demonic doorway for a demon to come and enter this world and do things to you, whether it's a possession or something like that. Do you still believe that? Have you rethought that?
I do still believe that.
Okay.
I would modify it with, it doesn't have to necessarily be possession. It could be influence, and I think this is the essence of the spiritual war. So that is new, not new for me, but new from your perspective, because I didn't bring that up at all,
Mm-hmm.
or think to mention that. But I think that is primarily what the spiritual warfare is about, is in terms of influencing us to follow God or to sin or not. So kind of the traditional, you got an angel. I don't actually believe this part literally, but it's kind of like, you have an angel on one side and a demon on the other side. So I think that they try to influence, or they can entrench sinful attitudes or desires within you.
So maybe we could talk more about that next week with spiritual warfare. I can tell you now, though, my response to that will be, so I'm going to give you a whole week to prepare for it. Any Christians out there, you can take a whole week to prepare for this response. It is this. We already know who's going to win. In fact, God already has an exact count of who's in and who's out. So
Well, he's already
he already has an exact count
according to the
of,
Bible. That was
yes, that the names are in the book. He knows who the saved are and who the saved are not. And we already know that if it's just a matter of hard count of souls, the devil gets the vast majority of souls who ever lived. So this is not a game that's worth betting on, because we already know the outcome. And so if that's the only thing this is about, it's a ridiculous war. God can call it right now. Just give Satan his pieces and pack it in.
okay. You want me to?
Yeah,
to,
if you
to
look, if you
respond
want,
to
I'm
that,
just,
or are you waiting for
I
next week?
would love for you to surprise me with a clever response that I have not heard. I don't
I
believe
don't.
that you can do it, but this is, when you're saying, well, it's a war of influence, we're trying to, they're trying to win souls. No, they're not. That's already been established.
Well, it's also a degree of punishment and or rewards in those states as well, right? Not everyone's in a totally equal state. Uh, um, and also, I forgot. Okay, so yeah, I don't think
It's okay.
there's also
You
a
got a week
question
to
of
work it out.
degrees. Okay, no, but there's something I wanted to
Go
say
ahead.
where, oh, um, yeah, the pieces. Why doesn't God just put the pieces where? Yeah, well, that's the same thing. Why doesn't God just create us? Okay, well, these guys would all be saved, so I'll just create you in heaven. You guys, I'll just create in hell, right off the bat, kind of thing, without having to go through the motions. But that's not possible. You can't just arrive at an end state like that. The process is necessary to arriving at that end state.
It's not necessary
Uh,
for God.
yeah, it is.
Well, what you're suggesting is that he doesn't know. And I
Oh,
would
he
suggest that
knows.
that is a okay. I thought that's what you thought. He does know. So it is not, in fact, necessary for us to go through this for God to know how it ends. Yeah,
Yeah, but
it's necessary for
it's
us to go through for us to know how it ends, but I'm not entirely sure that's even important.
yeah, it's not. It's not important for us to know how it ends. It's important for us to arrive at that end state, and we can't just be created in that end state. We have to go through the experiences and make our God doesn't have power over our free will choices, and our free will choices through virtue ethics is what forms our character to be in the end state of being heaven fit,
Okay, well,
in the end state of being heaven
all
fit or
Satan
hell
is
fit.
doing is going through the motions and helping to weed out the people who aren't going to go to heaven versus people that are. So, I mean, he's doing his part, but his part is not something that is important to the ultimate outcome. His role is no more interesting than any other character's role who is on a videotape. Play the videotape forward, it goes the way it goes. Roll it back and play it again, it goes the same way. Roll it back and play it again, it goes the same way. So, saying that those characters somehow, have free will and that, one character is really important to how this plays out, not really.
No, that's not true then. So that it's not the case that that's not the way it works. Just because God knows in advance what choices we're going to make, we still had to make those choices. We were not determined in that sense. That's the purpose of having free will. It's free.
Okay, but you can say that this is just a matter of time, though. So you can say we made free will and that was recorded on God's videotape, but
Yep.
it's still recorded.
Yeah,
So
but
we
so what?
already done, and so at this point, you can say, well, we're playing it out from our perspective, but God, it's already played out from God's perspective.
Yeah, but God cares about. It's necessary for us to
There's
play it
nothing that
out.
we can do to change the tape. From God's perspective, we've already done it.
If the tape, yes, if the tape includes our free will choices, then yes, that this is how the Molinistic understanding
So
is brilliant.
I'm trying to meet
It's
you there at your Molinistic perspective and say the tape's already done. Doesn't matter. I understand you say, but we're the one making the choices. Great, but we've already made the choices. The play's already over. Audience has already gone home. We just don't know it.
yeah, but part of the tape is God and Satan warring with each other to influence people to make a certain
I
choice.
agree.
That's part of the
That's
tape.
part of the tape.
Okay.
And so once again, it's from God's perspective though, all pretty worthless because it's a tape he's already seen. So
Well,
I
it
don't
depends what
think
you mean by worthless. If
well,
worthless is okay, what's gonna come about? What's gonna be the end result? Of course, that's not why God goes through the motions. He before he created the foundations of the earth, he knew what the tape was gonna be, right?
right.
That's part of his sovereign control. Is he chose to set up this tape as opposed to another tape
Yep.
or something. So that's the sovereignty part. That but the process of going through the tape is necessary for us to develop the characters because the free will component, God can't just create us with characters fit for heaven or fit for hell. We have to go through the process through our free will choices to develop those characters.
Okay.
This is virtue known as virtue ethics, right?
I get that, but look, what we're talking about is a thing that at the end of the day, even next week, we're not going to be able to agree on, which is the purpose of spiritual war. It's we'll have that discussion next week, and you'll understand why none of this ultimately matters, not from my side or Dale's. So,
Okay.
I look forward to getting into that in the appropriate time. But once again, just so demons can influence us in this world, and you think that there are things like Ouija boards that let them in. How does that work roughly? I almost said exactly, but I know that would set you off. How as a non-believer in any of this am I supposed to think about how this works? I buy a Ouija board and then how do I get Satan into me? Because one of the things that I did on this week's board, I've already done it before this recording, is I put up a post on Unbelievable, and I said, hey, levitation, I'm in. Sounds like a great superpower. I would like to levitate. Demons like to levitate you. Tell me how to do it exactly. And I offered a little bit of a fake contest and put up some links to Ouija boards and tarot cards. So please draw me a line between your story of demons coming in and that actually having some real world effect on me. Please tell me how to pull this levitation thing off, because I am happy to bring in a demon right now if it can happen. We can do it right here on mic. How does this work?
Sure. So you open yourself up to their influence under the guise of a ghost or witchcraft or whatever it is.
Okay, how do I open myself? Because I'm trying it now. I'm open. I'm freeing my mind. I'm thinking about the dark side of the force. Expecto Patronum.
And you're worshiping Satan, and you're
Hail Baphomet.
Okay. Well,
Hail Satan. Hail Satan. Shaitan.
What is with you in the voices today?
I'm just trying. I mean, look, Hollywood has taught me that these voices go with the deal, okay? So I'm doing my best. I can't help it if I don't know I'm asking you how to do it. You seem to think these things are real.
You just did it right now. By just doing that,
all right.
You've started a process to become more entrenched, you're making a joke and a mockery of God. That's a sin. You're sinning.
Yes, I am sinning. I am blaspheming. In fact, can we just say blaspheming? Because that's worse than sin, right?
Well, blaspheming is a sin.
But it's a bad one, isn't it?
Yes.
Okay, so I want the levitation demon. Okay? So I'm not after the one that just makes you blind. I'm already that. I was born blind. Give me the levitation demon, damn it. So
you said there's a levitation demon.
Well, look, it seems to be associated with demonic action. Did you listen to this week's Unbelievable, right?
Yeah. Well,
so a lot of levitation going on. How do I do it?
You can't control which demon you get. Let's assume that there are these levitation demons or whatever, which is...
Okay, I'll go with hit spinning all the way around. I mean, I've never been able to pull that off. That seems pretty cool.
Go with what? Hits?
Hit spinning all the way around, like The Exorcist.
Okay.
Wouldn't that be cool? Haven't you ever tried to spin your head all the way around and realize that, that's not possible?
Yeah, so the purpose of the demons is not to do those tricks. It's to get you to become entrenched in your sinful rebellion against God.
Okay, well, they were doing the tricks on a freaking 6-year-old who didn't have any of that in mind.
What?
You did listen to the podcast, right? The guy on the...
I told you I was half...
Okay, so the other guy, the one who was the minister of deliverance, his first encounter with a demon was at age 6.
Mm-hmm.
So
and his head spun around.
No, but he levitated.
Okay.
So clearly some powerful demon got a hold of this kid for whatever reason. I don't know what evil he had done at age 6 to get their interest, but he got him. So I'm just saying, whatever a 6-year-old can do to get a demon, I'm trying to figure that out so that I can get me a levitation demon right now. I've got a iPhone XS Max. It's got a great video camera. I will record it.
Okay, so I don't know this guy, if he's full of it or not. But let's say there are levitation. You can't. That's the deal. You won't be able to control what you get when you open yourself up to the...
Okay, well, I don't care if I can control it. It's a superpower that would probably make me fairly rich and famous if I can get it on video.
You're trying to control which I mean, there aren't levitation demons, but we're calling it this just for the sake of argument. If you want a levitation demon as opposed to a head spinning demon, you're not going to be able to control which of those you get.
Okay, well, I'll take either one. I'll take throwing up green vomit. What do you got?
You can't. What about the demons that cause you to blaspheme? Why don't you?
Well, I just did some blasphemy and I didn't get anything. So
that is what you got.
oh.
You're becoming entrenched and hardened in your heart that you think blaspheming God is a joke. It's no big deal to you.
I think it's as much of a joke as you think dressing up as the devil is. I'm not entirely sure how that's different.
So I guess that demon really got through to you then. You've been influenced. There you go. There you go.
Well, maybe you've been influenced because you think that it's okay to walk around looking like him. So,
well, I've never been. I wouldn't have been influenced because I've never opened myself up to a demon.
Well, I don't even know what you mean by opening yourself up. I mean, to me, that's woo-woo talk. I don't know what it means to open yourself up to a thing. All I can do is look at an idea and see if it makes any sense to me. I can explore whether it makes sense to me. I can poll my inner self and see whether I believe it or not. But I don't know how to open myself up to a thing. That's not a language that makes any sense to me.
It's to truly, I don't know, give yourself up to, like in the context of demon possession with your love, like you truly, hey, come over me or whatever. And
okay, I don't believe in demons.
Okay, so then.
So is it impossible then? So I'm not really blaspheming then, because I don't believe in demons. I'm not really opening myself up. I'm just saying the words. But isn't that the same truth with Christianity? I mean, you would say, I should pray to God or whatever, open myself up to God. I don't believe in God either. So I would open myself up to God in the same way I just opened myself up to demons. And it sounds like you're saying it would be ineffective for me.
Yeah, so I didn't hear everything you said in the last part, but you were saying that you're open.
My openness to God, to demons, is the same as my openness to God. I don't believe in either one of them. So okay, I don't. So I'm not. Okay, but how would I become open? You're so worried that I would open myself up to demons that I don't believe in, but you would like me to open myself up to God. How is it different?
Right. So you would take part in a witchcraft ritual or something, and you actually believe, through these forces, you're going to achieve a certain result. Okay,
you keep saying, and you actually believe. I'm telling you, I do not actually believe. I am never going to actually believe. I cannot actually believe. I am incapable of actually believing it.
Well, then you're never going to levitate or have your head spin around.
Then I'm also never going to be a God believer because I don't actually believe that either. So if
you don't have God in your heart, do you? So
I don't even know what you mean by that. So I'm going to say no. But how would I possibly get God in my heart if I don't believe?
So here's how you possibly do it then, because you should be open to believing.
What does that mean?
If you learn the truth. That means it in an ordinary sense. You're an honest seeker. That's what I'm talking about at this point. But once you believe God exists, then you're open to him dwelling in your heart. And
okay, but I don't believe he exists. So how can I be open to him now?
You can't.
Okay.
Yes.
Not possible. That's all I'm saying. Not possible. Also, not my fault. Because I can't make myself believe a thing I don't believe.
So let me just interrupt. So I guess what your point, and I agreed with you. This isn't going to be a surprise for you because I modified my claims. I guess the point you're trying to get to is if you want to play like a board game on a Ouija board, or play tarot cards or something like that, but you don't believe you don't have the intent that you're trying to be. You're not being open to demons. You're just playing a game that happens to have these things on it. That's fine in the same way that you're not open to God, right? So if that's your point, then yeah, remember I modified there that I do think it's about the intent, that maybe there's a Ouija board game that you're playing or something like that, but you're not actually summoning. Then
it can't possibly be a gateway. And by the way, if you do believe in the powers of Satan, you don't need a Ouija board. So the Ouija board still isn't the gateway. The Ouija board isn't anything but a
Right.
stupid piece of cardboard and a
Yep.
thing.
Yep.
The thing that's what you're calling a gateway is actual belief.
Yeah.
I think that this is where your argument should be modified to
Yeah,
you know,
I think it is. That's why I said it's the intent, right? These people use these occultic practices. I mean, anything. If you spin around in a circle and jump up 3 times, that could become an occultic practice type thing. If your intent is opening yourself up. So yeah, okay. I take your point there. I did modify that on that aspect, and yeah, I'll agree with you there.
okay.
All right.
All right. So I mean, so yeah. So for the Christian, this stuff, I think Christians should take this stuff more seriously. If you actually believe that there are demons and there are gateways, and that you could accidentally, because the way the guy was talking about on the program, you can accidentally let a demon in by doing some of this stuff. This is just one of those doors. It's a hard coded door. You open the door, a demon comes in. And that's what I'm saying sounds crazy. Now, I still think it all sounds crazy, but if what you're saying is, well, no, the only way to really let one of these guys in is you have to want them in really bad. So you have to believe in them really strongly, and you've got to want them really bad. Then I would say, okay, well, that's kind of like God. Then you got to believe in them really strongly and want them really bad. Um,
Yeah, I guess that is what I would like for, yeah, because I did a Ouija board back in high school or something. I didn't actually take part in it. My friends were doing it. Nothing happened. I mean, I didn't get infected with a demon or possessed by a demon or anything like that because I didn't. I just thought it was a bunch of fluff, as I'm sure all of them did too. They're just playing a little game like, oh, let's have some fun or something like that. So maybe that's why, because none of us were truly open or truly actually trying to summon ghosts or demons or something like that in a real sense. Maybe that's why.
no, I mean, I don't. Did you believe in demons?
At that time, I
Yeah,
did, yeah. Yeah, I didn't believe in ghosts.
but you did believe in demons,
Yes.
and you were playing a game that was known to let demons in.
Well, I didn't play it. I reserved. I just said I said I'll stay out of it, but I watched. Um, but I didn't see. I just saw it as a board game. And
So
it was
you
being
did
stupid.
think that it was possibly a conduit that a demon could come through.
I don't think I did really. I was just sort of, well, the Bible frowns on this, but I was kind of, I wasn't at that time. I wasn't taking the Bible seriously then.
Yeah.
As you said, like I knew, yeah. I guess I was just kind of, I was saying, well, the Bible says I shouldn't, so I'm not going to do it. That's you guys. I'm not doing nothing. But
But you'll just be in this.
I
You'll
know
just be in this room where the demons might come, and
well, I wasn't gonna stand outside, but
uh,
but I was just like in my head, yeah. What I was thinking, this is just a bunch of nothing's gonna happen. It's just
you're
nothing.
like, I'm not gonna take the drugs, but yeah, I'll hang out with you guys.
Actually, I did do that, so
Yeah,
yeah.
right. So I mean,
Yeah,
I'm just saying that's not.
yeah. I there were things about me in my Christian life that were hypocritical. Now I'm trying to be better at that. Now I'm sure there's
Well,
you might think
I
I'm
mean,
gonna.
no, I don't. I think it's part of it is you really don't know what you believe, and over the course of talking about this for a few days, that's what comes to me the most. It's a thing that you really haven't studied that hard, and I think that if we put you on the counselor's couch and really dug into your head a little bit, there's probably something behind why you have chosen not to study this that much. Um,
Just don't think it's yeah. Like I the Bible gives me what I need to do to live a Christian life. That's what's important to me as to figuring out a secondary issue of how spiritual warfare takes place. I see that as just a secondary issue that's not as important to
but you,
me
you
as
understand that
other.
plenty of Christians don't think of it as a secondary issue. They think of it as very primary.
Do you mean by primary? Do you mean like an essential belief?
Absolutely, because they think that
Okay.
if you are stepping in the wrong spiritual landmines, you are going to blow yourself straight to hell.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I would just disagree with their definition of Christianity proper. I think you can be a Christian and not believe in demons or even Satan. You can believe that those are errors in the Bible when it's
Okay.
talking about those
I,
folks. So
I think that they would definitely, speaking for crazy Christians everywhere, they would definitely disagree with you. You could not, in fact, be a Christian and not believe in Satan. In fact, I think they would say you couldn't be a Christian and think that you could not believe in Satan. So even if you do, but you think it's okay not to, they would still probably put you outside of the Christian camp for that view. But that's it. Look, spiritual warfare next week. I think that we've established a little bit of ground to carve out, and we'll just have to carve out a little bit more next week. But our hour's about up, and so I want to go ahead and thank the listeners for this spooktacular. Uh, and
no, no, no. You got to use the voice.
See, I got criticized for the voice.
Don't worry about it at all.
Now I'm worried about it now.
Ooh, spectacular.
Yeah, that's big. That was also sad. So yeah, so yeah. Thanks everybody, and thanks Dale for recording this with me. And yeah, we're gonna continue to explore this issue, and we won't. We'll
I,
try to avoid a shouting match, but next week won't be quite as casual as this week.
Okay, so yeah, I think this one was definitely better because I know you guys, the audience will never hear what happened, but I have to be honest, I beat the living heck out of David. He was in tears.
It
He
was
just
awful.
couldn't,
It
yeah,
was
he
awful.
just couldn't refute what I had to say. So
That's the real reason why I decided not to play this.
I knew it. Although
You're welcome, Dale.
I think it would have been interesting for the people to know how you cry. Like,
Yeah. That would be nice, but we're not. We're just not going to put that up there. Well,
okay,
maybe that'll be a pay-per-view type thing.
oh, okay,
We'll take
that's a
some
good idea.
donations. We'll put that one up there if we raise enough money.
That's a good idea. All right, perfect. Well, yeah, have a happy Halloween, everyone, and enjoy the day. Stay away from demons and enjoy some candy.
And yeah, so opposite advice. No, have a good day. Enjoy some candy, but please don't take candy from strangers. That's a dumb tradition. Go to a nice Halloween party and get safe candy from people you know and trust. And by all means, consort with demons. If you meet a demon, maybe talk to them, get to know them. Maybe they're not as bad. I mean, you've only heard the Christian side of the story. They have been demeaned for ages without giving their side of the story, and you should keep an open mind to everybody. So if you run into a demon, treat them nicely, offer them some candy, and if they offer you some special powers or offer to levitate you, go for it and film it, for Pete's sake. We want to see it.
All right. Yeah, you had the last word. So, all right. Am I supposed to respond to that? Okay.
No, you're not.
All right. Happy Halloween, everybody.
All right, out of here.